I changed. I mean, with the Legion, I got some links and stuff, but primarily Legion. I got a couple things that I touched up with. Like I'm trying to get 2 crit line on my gloves, so I'm wasting a lot of money on that.
Oh yeah, that's
I did get a Sweetwater necklace, and on my first try, I transposed it, and I was waiting to ask you if it was a good enough flame, but
well,
I decided to try it, and it just
water,
went, so
water under the bridge now, I guess.
yeah, it's too late to decide now. I don't think it was a great flame.
It was probably too bad. Yeah, you probably shouldn't have done that. Yeah.
It was a.
Before I look, I'll just say
So
that.
I looked around and I asked a lot of people, and basically it took me forever to get this flame. It was a. Let's see, I have it saved somewhere. So it was a 48 strength and 6%. So it was under, but I think because I spent over 2 bill to get that flame that I kind of said, whatever.
No, that is honestly that's ballpark good enough, dude. Don't worry too much about that.
Thank you. I also got my superior ring yesterday, so that's gonna come up. I'm gonna use the 17-star scroll for it.
Yeah, that's sounds like a good plan. All right, let's start from the top and make our way through everything. We have 230 arc.
232 now.
232, nice. And how is arc to your liking?
Oh, man, so I previously messaged you about it a little bit. I started with we started back in when the Adele event came out, and I just decided I was gonna main the Ilium, and about a weekend I said, I'm gonna have to go and do some research.
This ain't the chief.
Do this. Oh my goodness, it was terrible. So I took a week to stop playing, and I looked at every class, and the arc is what I came to. And ever since then, it's been pretty fun. It's a really, really universally great class. It has everything that you could ask for.
Yeah, like flexible. It has its downsides, but it has its uptimes, which I think compensate for it.
Yeah, it's nice to have, you gotta bind 2 iframes. You've got 0% knockback. It's a pretty good class.
I like it, yeah. And they give a little bit of burst end game as well to everyone, so
for sure.
That's nice. Okay.
Me and my friends, I play with 2 other people. We exclusively don't play with other people.
Yeah, fuck other people.
We just want, yeah, exactly. And we're at the point where all 3 of us, I can solo Lotus, but not Damien. Damien's kind of, I can get Damien to second phase, but by that time I have like 2 lives left, and I end up not making it too well. But we're trying. We're just saving up to get full superior at the moment.
Yep.
And we're trying to get to a point where we can try to go straight to Lucid, but we don't think that we can do 3-man Lucid, can we? Is that a thing early on?
You need it's tricky. You could probably try easy and then see if you can move your way up from there. But the main thing is that your kit has to really be catered towards being able to get rid of all of the golems. If you don't have within your kit with all the characters enough golem clear, then it's going to be borderline impossible. Yeah.
Yeah, because we played with it just a little bit. We
Who are the other classes that you're playing with?
We are playing with an Adele and a Dawn Warrior.
That is, and with Arc, that is pretty decent line clear. I think that might be possible, but of course you are only going to be able to do it once you just like are stupid strong compared to them, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, we don't know how well we're going to get to that point. I don't know, like when you start to solo normal or easy Lotus. Do you have like arcane Umbra gear at that point?
Wait, you mean normal Lucid? Is that what you're talking about?
Just easy Lucid.
Easy Lucid, yeah. No, that's like Fafnir or Abzo combined stuff.
You can still do that. Okay, cool. I felt like.
But it's a kit. It's like a kit check, right? You have to be able to get rid of the golems and do enough bursts to kill it fast enough. And I think an arc might be able to do it, but there's just some classes that have no way of doing it. Like if you have a single target skill and you have limited range and you need to be on top of Lucid at all times, you're probably just kit-wise, you're not going to be able to do it unless you're so ridiculously strong that you're probably also already in a hard party.
Okay, I got you.
It seems easy is a bit more accessible, but also, I don't know, easy isn't that much easier than normal, and you probably still want to do normal instead because it has a way higher drop rate for all the items that you want to do it for anyway, like for the droplets and for the soul shards. It can, yeah, but very low drop rate, yeah. But you could do it as like a practice, you know, as you step your way up towards normal, for example.
Yeah, I got you.
Because normal is about double the HP, so it's not an insane difference.
Yeah, recently I watched you do, I don't know if it was hard. I think it was hard on your marksman with a group of people that I've never seen them before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you guys got to the very end, and you couldn't finish it. And I
no,
don't know
it
if
was
I
so
could
close,
deal with
yeah.
that heartbreak. That's a lot of heartbreak.
Well, it's yeah. I wasn't really banking on the clear there. It was just like trying to help some people out who were short anyway, and they were like, you know, it's kind of like a Hail Mary. It's not a guaranteed clear. So that's like a guaranteed. That's basically the definition of a struggle run, right? Where you know that everyone kind of knows what they're doing, but no one's guaranteed to make it to the end. You're not guaranteed the clear. You're just, you know, kind of hoping that it might work. And if it doesn't work, you could try again the next day. So it's not too bad. But yeah, my skill nodes on that character are very low level. So if those were leveled, I would probably do significantly enough extra damage to probably have finished it off there. The main thing I'm missing is skill node levels. But that's something that I didn't need to get to 250, so that the character just doesn't have that at all.
For sure.
Oh, by the way, try to keep your distance to the mic a little bit uniform, because you're like moving around a little bit.
Yeah, my bad, sorry.
and then sometimes you're like way more quiet than other times. So when it comes to Arc, like what are some things that you feel, is there anything with Arc mechanics or something that you feel that you might need some help on? Because you mentioned Damien, you died out. Maybe we could talk about that a little bit.
I think it's just with Damien, I have struggles clearing the marks off of me. I don't know. I figured out yesterday when I tried to run him that that sword targets you eventually to where it hits the ground and makes that like insta kill. So you try to stay away from. I was trying to cleanse myself at the same time that I was trying to dodge the swords, and instead I should have let it plant on the ground then go over to cleanse. So I think I'll have better. I just think my burst needs to get a little. I feel like my burst needs to get a little bit higher.
Yeah, well, yeah, that'll definitely just. It connects together, because if your burst is higher, the boss fight is shorter. There's less instances of you needing to cleanse, and therefore less chance of you dying to reaching the stacks. But yeah, you definitely want to make sure. So the way I always explain this is like 7 stacks is a decent amount. If you dodge most of the attacks, it takes quite a while to get you to 7 stacks. But what you have to take into account is that for at least 4 of those stacks, you're not going to be able to cleanse, like, at all. Either there's going to be an attack of Damien on top of the thing and you can't stand there, or the sword is going to tap you, or it's going to land right on top of you. So at least for 4 of these, it's not going to work. So what this means is that if you don't cleanse when you're at 3 stacks, there's a chance that all 4 of those instances happen after those 3, and that you end up at 7 stacks and die. So even if you're at 2 and 3 or 3 stacks, and there's an opportunity to do it, that might be the way to go, because maybe the next time when you cleanse, you'll already be at 5, and if you don't do it now, that means that you'll die next time. So it comes down to like learning the rhythm of how quickly, because there's like a desync between now there's an altar and now the sword lands. They're not always synchronized, right? But there's some overlap. So you want to make sure that whenever the sword is going to land, that you dash into the corner, get the sword to land in the corner, and then as soon as it lands, get out of it, because the cleanse never spawns in a corner. And then you have a lower chance of the cleanse and the fire to overlap, and a higher chance that you can actually get the cleanse in. And you also always want to duck just to make your hitbox a little bit smaller, because then sometimes the sword will pass over you. And you can also move a little bit to the left and to the right while staying on top of the cleanse to maybe dodge the sword. But that's a bit tricky, of course, because it's pretty hard to to predict how the sword is going to move.
Yeah, for sure.
Even me with all my runs, it's a lot of times I don't really know. I don't really know where he's going.
For sure.
That and you know, after the dives and the punches, like the residual hitbox. That's a major thing. Like, it's not. Sometimes it's not that bad that you get hit and you get knocked back. It's whatever. But the bad thing is that it counts as an extra stack, so that builds up your stacks faster as well. So that's why you want to be a little bit careful with approaching there.
Okay, I got you. I didn't think this event coming up as well, this 5, 10, 15, I didn't understand what it was. I thought it was going to be from 14 to 15, but apparently it's 15 to 16 that it's 100%.
Yeah, there have been poor communications surrounding that in the past, where the preposition they used was like for or something, or to rather than on, which is something else. But yeah, it's when going from 5 up to 6, 10 up to 11, or 15 up to 16.
So and then 7. So getting 17 stars on most of your gear is pretty important, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of extra stat and mainly a lot of extra weapon attack that comes in once you start surpassing 15.
Man, that's brutal. Because I think I have most things to 16 stars, and that's why I was like, oh, I don't care about this event. And then I learned it's a free 15 to 16. So then 17 is what you really have to worry about.
Yeah, but you only have to safeguard to 17. You just pass that once. And even if it does drop, you're guaranteed back up to 16 without having to safeguard, without any risk of booming. So that's why it's a perfect event to push everything to 17. Or if you have the money to push things super super far, because still that statistically is also still cheaper. If you're going up to 22, it's around the same price, maybe a little bit more expensive than 30% off because of the amount of upgrades that you have to do. But the problem is that the average amount of booms is going to be way higher on 30% off, which makes it more likely that you will actually need all that money to get there, rather than if you just get one boom less because of 5, 10, 15, because of 15 to 16 free, it prevents one of your booms. Just one boom preventing it will already save you a whole lot of money. And the other thing is, when you have 30% off, since all of them are discounted, it actually takes you longer to spend that amount of money. And since time does equal money to a certain extent, because if you have more time left over, you can spend it on farming and making your money back. So because of that, I feel like it offsets it enough that you just always want to do during a 5, 10, 15. Okay. If you like anything past 15 stars, basically. Yeah.
One question that I had specifically towards the arc wise, I'm still farming at 232 in Arcana, and is that? I mean, I know that the meta is farm where you're most comfortable, but I know you talk a lot about rotations, and I don't quite find myself doing rotations in the maps in Arcana. I just feel like sometimes I'll mash buttons. I'll lay down my bind to clear off part of the area for a little bit, and I'll go up and down, drop down, go up and down, drop around. For maps in Morass, is there because I've seen some videos where some literally have they change their hyper skills to where you can have 3 of the incredible tenacious instinct dashes instead of 2. Do you ever do that? Is that something that you would recommend, or is it just...
I've personally never done that, but I played during a different time. So I played when we still had the older Kishin that respawned faster and respawned more monsters, so smaller maps were disproportionately better, and we didn't have a gazillion bots taking up all of the possible maps. So that could lead you into maybe moving into different areas. I did during some 2x events where Arcana was just also really full. I ended up in I think the Red Shadow map in Morass. That one was okay.
I see a lot of botters there.
but that one's full of bots now as well, so that wouldn't even be an option. I stayed in Arcana. Generally, I stayed in LP1 basically until 250, and then just moved up straight to Labyrinth and just skipped everything on the way there. Okay. It is possible that at 240 maybe Celis has some nice maps, but you still have some levels to go until then.
Yeah, levels are brutal. And when I asked you, you said you need 11 totems to get to 265 to 266. So I don't think I should have room to complain at the moment.
It's it's slow now for sure.
That's brutal.
Need some crazy event to make that a little bit more bearable.
Yeah, or something. It's so they had when I first started playing, they had the event, the Celestial event.
Yep.
Is that a frequent event, or is it just...
That was the first time that we ever had that, and also it didn't come from KMS, so we weren't really expecting it. It came from Maple Sea, I believe.
Okay, that was a great event. For someone who started off real early, it helped me level up my nose.
Oh yeah. But it's also really good at giving you false hope a little bit. Because you take it away and then you're like, oof, wow, this is how it normally is, huh? Yeah.
I got my first 3 because that's when I pushed all the way to Blackline, and after that I was like, I don't think I can do my dailies anymore. It doesn't feel worth it anymore. So I had to take a small break from that.
Mm-hmm.
But
To reset that that baseline.
for sure. I think the only question with my items
Mm-hmm.
are flames that are good for superior. I reflame
Mm-hmm.
them and they feel so weak. Like they like 32 is the highest flame that I've gotten on my
Mm-hmm.
necklace and my reinforced earrings. And if that, I don't know if that's good. I can't find Golik's gear flame progression or what's good for Golik's.
Okay. Do you know about the difference between flame advantage and no flame advantage?
Yes, to a point. Golik's, I don't understand how that doesn't have like the boss advantage. I don't understand what that means
Well,
or whatever it.
the main reason is because it's not in KMS, so they don't have it coded in. So it
And
just
that means
lacks that it lacks that code, so therefore it doesn't have it basically.
okay.
So therefore it falls under the non-advantage. So that's the numbers you want to look for basically. So for current stage between 25 and 42, so that's like probably like average of like 30, low to mid 30s. So that's right where you want it, honestly.
So my flame is basically where it's good, is as good as it's gonna get, kind of like it's.
Yeah, for late you'll see people pushing 40 to 50. Some people even trying to approach 60, but that's literally when all the other stuff is already way better and you're looking at 20 plus stars on everything. Until then, this is like, I think my stuff has like either 40 to low 40s. So, you know, it's like 8 stat per item difference.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah, just so it just falls under the non-flame advantage category.
I watched all of the arc progressions. You've had quite a bit of them.
I've had some, yeah.
Recently. You went over Golix. I do Helix now by myself, but I don't understand when the red X is over you why I instantly die. I still don't understand. Sometimes when I stop moving, it won't kill me, and I don't know if that's a part of it. Or
so okay, so there's the yeah, he like blinks with his eyes, and then you get the fire like that twirls around you, and that inverts your movement, and it's basically a bomb on you that detonates after X amount of time, and it deals, I believe it deals 99% damage. So if you're at full 100, it won't kill you. But if you're even like a little bit of HP off, which, you know, even if you just use a buff that consumes HP, that's already enough off, and then it'll kill you. So so if you stop moving, probably the main thing is that you didn't use any buff skills that reduce your HP. The other thing you can do, of course, is if you're in Spectre mode and use Endless Dream, you can recover a little bit like that without needing to use your potions, and that might also get you high enough to be able to survive the explosion. That or going into iframe and then, you know, hoping it lasts long enough, or leaving the map on the bottom left, and that cleanses the fire as well, but that can be a bit tricky to do if you're inverted, and it doesn't work if you already have a potato stack, etc.
Yeah, exactly. I just have to try to iframe as much as I can until I can leave.
Yeah. If you're not, if you don't get too close to the eyes, then that skill should never hit you. But of course, sometimes when you're in the middle and you trigger phase 2, sometimes it already hits you before you even get out of the middle, and then.
Oh, so if you stay further away from him, you won't get hit by the.
That attack has a. So if you're standing on phase 2, so if you're standing on the bottom, you're within range. If it's during phase 2, like if you're standing middle bottom, you're within range. So you have to be careful for that. But if you're standing on the probably on the left side, and you're standing further away than the portal, like you're like at least 1 or 2 steps behind the portal to teleport down, then you're out of range for that attack, and it should not hit you. But yeah, Golix is more of a blow up and leave kind of boss.
Yeah, I've noticed that I go and wait for my what is it called? My Infinity Spell and my Missile Recall to come up.
Yeah.
Before I
the Turning Hungry Beast is a lot of burst as well.
It's fantastic. I hated it initially because people were telling me that the best, because I was still learning. I'm still learning the game. I'm still fairly new. But they were telling me that Endlessly Starving Beast wasn't really going to be that great because of the amount of lines that it hits. But
yeah, but it hits so many times.
Because it triggers the orbs and the swords or whatever they're called as well.
Impending Death.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the Vengeful Hate. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's gonna get buffed as well in upcoming change. Yeah, they're redirecting the number so that it hits even more times. So that if you're capping now, it's gonna be even more damage.
Oh, that's satisfying.
It's basically it's gonna be the it's gonna be a little bit more than the final explosion of Abyssal Recall, basically, but way faster and more targetable. So.
Because the cooldown, I was surprised on how fast it triggered when I first saw it, because they said it was like, it's supposed to trigger after every ability. It goes
it goes a little bit faster. Yeah,
but it seems like I place it and I hit one time and it just
because the skill counts. I think the skill counts for every monster you hit, and then all of the impending death and all of the vengeful hates also count as attacks. Sometimes just one attack and a swipe afterwards, that automatic, and it immediately activates. Yeah. The weird thing is also it says it activates faster, but if you put it down and you don't use any skill, it doesn't even activate. It just fizzles.
I feel like I thought that it would activate.
Yeah, because that's what it says, right? It says faster, which means that it is on a timer already to activate, right? And that you can speed it up. But apparently that doesn't happen. It just has, you have to use this many skills. If you don't use...
I find myself, I don't know why I do it, but when I get into, let's say, Sevel, what I'll do is I'll wait for him to pop up, and I'll instantly go in Blissful Restraint, and then I'll drop Endlessly Starving Beast down, and I'll go down, and I'll go back to Floriform so I can get my 4 buffs. I don't know if we're supposed to or not, but I go get my buffs from all 4 of my Floras, and then I'll switch back, and there's a chance that I've seen my Floriform trigger my Endlessly Starving Beast, and I won't get the impending death trigger off of it. Does that make sense?
That's weird.
And that's why I've stopped trying to do that. I've just waited instead and just got my Floriform stacks, and then I binded because I've seen it actually trigger in my Floriform, but then the impending deaths won't because they're not there. So I didn't think it could trigger, but it will trigger still. Or
put the beast down, hit him with the... Put a beast down and just make sure that he spawns over it, then hit him with the Blissful Restraint, and then the hit of the restraint and the following restraint hits should trigger the beast, and then while that you're charging your Floriform stacks, and then you get the orbs while it's all hitting, something like that.
That makes sense.
That could be an option too, because it might be residual hits of attacks that you used when you were in arc form that count as arc hits, even though you've already switched back to Flora form.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, because I did Blissful.
Yeah, because blissful hits might trigger they count as arc hits, right? Because blissful power, forcefully
That's
switches
probably
you.
What it is. I guess I wasn't thinking about blissful being.
Yeah, it's usually not like a huge DPS skill that you like take into control. Yeah.
When you with your hyper skills, I think hyper skills was another question I did have. I don't understand what advanced Spectre state is, so I haven't used it. Do you use that?
Yes, that's the one that gives you knockdown immunity.
Knockdown?
Yeah, so there's a difference between knockback and knockdown, and you've probably done this. So you've done Damien, right? When Damien dives on you or punches you to the side and stuff. Like if you're in Spectre form, that doesn't move you. You just stand still. It just goes through you.
Yeah, no, that one is I'm talking about the very, very last one, the Advanced Spectre state. It talks about Master Corruption and Flora state while using a skill lets you consume Spectre to cancel.
Oh, am I talking about the wrong one?
Yeah, I think so. Because the knockback one is fantastic.
That's an Ayumi love. Hang on. Hyper. Oh, that's the one that builds the
I can't like reading it.
The battle stage or something faster? Is that the one? Makes you go into battle frenzy or something?
Yes, it could trigger battle frenzy. I don't understand that ability at all.
Oh, so if you use a skill and then you kind of like weave in the other skills, so you have to do it during so if you're in Spectre, you have to do it during Endless Dream, and if you're in Florid, you have to do it during basic charge, charge drive. then you can weave the other skill in, and you will cancel the animation of the other skill, and then you will go into battle frenzy. And the more stacks you have of battle frenzy, the easier it is to weave in skills in the animation and cancel their animation, and you can kind of use it to animation cancel and to weave in more skills and optimize your DPS, basically.
Don't we already have animation cancel without that?
Yes, but that makes it even easier to do. So this is typically one that we don't take because it's not super relevant. But it's using Master Corruption, so that's switching the state, right? In Flora state, while using a skill, lets you consume Spectra to cancel the skill and shift to Spectra state. So basically what it's allowing you to do is to animation cancel your to use your transformation as an animation cancel on a skill, rather than to use a separate skill as an animation cancel on a skill to build the stack. Okay. But it says it could trigger Battle Frenzy, so it's not even guaranteed. So that's why we don't really, use this one now.
That makes sense. I have all of my other points into like the first three. I don't have any into the damage and restraint and the swift creeping terror cooldown.
Yeah, I like that one. I like the swift creeping terror because it's a faster full map clear, and it's also just more iframes for bosses.
What would be worth taking off? Because I think the healing, I have the healing, the knockback resistance.
Yeah, usually take one of the first threes off, whichever one makes the most sense with your build. So usually you pick the first one, and then between guard break and boss rush one, whichever one for your numbers makes the most sense, you keep that one. And then the other one I do tend to sacrifice in favor of the terror, because I mean it's called the East Terror here, but I think it has a different name in the whatever. Yeah, because 20-second cooldown timers, it goes from 60 to 48 seconds down. Yeah, that's really good.
Especially with the way the iframe works.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to move and exit out of it, it is a pretty good iframe. Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense. So technically, I heard you want your IAD anywhere from 90 to 95, and I know I know how the calculator works. But if I'm at like, let's say I was at 94 and I take off guarding arts, that technically wouldn't show in my IED, correct?
Yeah, correct, because it doesn't apply to all your skills, so it doesn't apply in your window. So you're talking about having 94, but you're aiming for 95. You're comparing two different numbers there, right? Because the 94 you're saying is probably is the visible one, but the 95 is the functional one. Have you done the functional calculation before to see where you're at?
No, I have not done functional.
Because the main thing, what's the main thing we have? Well, the main thing we have is the Rs, of course, and then the 20% from your boost nodes, possible, and then 20% from your abyssal charge. And then during your burst, that's another 20, of course, but you do disproportionately do more damage during the burst, so that more is kind of a thing to sweeten the deal, but it's not something you want to use it in your base calculations. And then you have, if you have the Explorer Mage links, then that's another.
Yes, that's where the rest of my legion came from.
Oh yeah, then that's another 9%.
Okay, yeah, I'm still working on them. I got them all to 70. Those are brutal classes.
That's the Explorer Mages are very hit or miss for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, those are.
The teleport is better now though. But the faster teleport, it does sweeten the deal quite a bit, I would say.
Just getting it to 30, the fact that all three of them do the same thing to level 30.
It's like I've been here before.
Yeah, but I watched one of your previous videos because I didn't know that the 3 mages counted as a debuff. So in terms that the 3 assassins would be useful, and the Kadena would also be useful.
And the Kadena would be useful. Yep.
I was hoping because I didn't have a debuff that I had to make all of that, but it seems like every class is just worthy to get to 120.
Exactly, yeah. Before we got the Explorer links, there were a bunch of characters that you could just say like, well, fuck those. I'm gonna, just not make those. I'll just make 15 Kanas, and then you will probably be fine. But since they gave them link skills, it is very useful to have a little bit of everything. Yeah. I thought Ice Lightning and Bishop were we're pretty fine. Fire poison is a little bit trickier to get up there.
Yeah, fire poison. I didn't mind ice lightning to 70. I've only got it to 70.
Oh, it's 70. Yeah, yeah. Once you get holy symbol online for bishop, you actually get crazy amounts of experience. It's so much extra.
Yeah,
so that the leveling speed gets quite fast.
Even at level 3, because I think, well, what is it? Yeah, my empirical knowledge is at level 3. It triggers like almost 100%.
Oh, all the time. Yeah.
19. Yeah. So
it's per hit, but you do so many instances of damage that it's just up all the time. Yeah, for sure.
So, and I traded that out at the moment. Here, I'll give me 1 second. I've traded that out because my links were so terrible at the moment. So I'm actually still I'm using the level 3 at the moment. And there's if you wanted to see it. But I think because I have at that in the picture, I have so many, like I'm using core aura in that picture and it's terrible. So and like I haven't touched. I don't know why they allow you to buy the core aura boxes on other classes if you can't touch it on other classes.
Oh, for the jet?
Yeah, I bought it because I said I was gonna touch it, and sure enough, it was not.
Yeah, you can't roll. Yeah, rip.
You can't trade them either.
Nope.
And you can't drop them. So you have to go burn them. It's terrible.
Just wait for them to leave. Yeah. Yeah, the main thing with this is that you want something more valuable for the Archer Adventure one, right? That one is like carrying the least of its weight.
Crit rate completely out of like links, but I don't links and hyper stats. But I guess I'm kind of confused on where I need my crit rate to be at its base.
So if you're using decent, so you can rely on 30% from your Scarlet drive and from the decent sharp eyes. So you want it to be at 70 without those two.
Okay, so I want to get it to 70.
Technically, 69 would be enough if you can also get decent combat orders in there, because that gives you like an extra %.
Is it worth the badges in the familiar page? How many? Do you know how much on the top of your head you could get from that?
I think there's only like there's 1% is pretty easy, and then there's another % that's doable, but it is a bit harder. Okay. If I remember correctly,
at least 2%.
Did go over that last time.
The way you get to 70, is it just you put some in your Legion?
Yeah. So what I have is I have some in my soul for my weapon.
That's what I was trying to get.
And some in my Legion, but then I don't have any in my hyperstats to compensate for that. Well, let's say where you're at right now. Where's your hyperstat? Oh, you don't have your hyperstats here. Could you take a picture of those?
Yeah. Yes.
Because right now in your Legion, there's none. So it's like your Legion member, and then your Legion grid, and then hyperstats, and then.
And then on that picture that I posted, I have 8 in attack power as well.
8 in attack power. Okay. Right. Yeah. See, so we have all the. Yeah, so while you're still working on Legion and links, and you don't have too many other links to put in instead of what you already have, then it would make sense to just use those for critical rate, right? But as you get other viable links with more damage that could take their place, that is when you do want to start replacing, especially the ones that give only crit. They're still very useful, of course, to build your whole account with, but for your character itself, you don't want to have to rely on those and then get more, like bigger damaging skills. You get stuff like the Angelic Buster link in there. Let's see, for Arc, there's not too much stuff that we're terribly relying on.
Right now, I am working on the Thieves. So I got the Kadena was pretty fun, so I went straight to 120 for that. But the Thieves are still kind of tough. I started with the Shadower. The Shadower's fine, but I heard the Night Lord and the Doublade were a little bit.
I thought Doublade started off well, but it's Night Lord is a little bit it's a little bit squishy and a little bit. The mobbing isn't great early on.
Would you recommend me at all ever getting the Adele Because I haven't.
Yeah, for party bossing, it's good. But if you're soloing, it's not very good.
So you wouldn't use it for soloing. So since I'm always with an Adele, I technically don't need it.
Well, it's not like a shared buff, right? You still have to use it in your.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's just a. Yeah, no, it's a passive for them as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you're 3-manning everything, if you're 3-manning it gives you, I believe, 10% damage in total. Okay. 4 base and then plus 2% per up to 8 bonus, so up to 12. But if you're 3-manning, it's 10%. So it's basically at the same level of elementalism.
Okay. On top of the familiars, I know we just had a nice little chat in the Twitch stream, but you would, so the recommendation, because I guess because I read it and I think I have problem reading sometimes, that it would be okay just to go like to a place that you were comfortable just getting nothing but familiar cards and then leveling it up to epic, but the chances of getting like, because I want boss damage, my boss damage is actually pretty low even for an arc, because I have nothing in boss damage. You would only recommend, if I wanted to waste my time or like take the long route, I could do that, but technically the best route is to go to, I don't know, Esfera or wherever you guys farm at level 245, and get the familiar cards there.
So there's no familiar cards dropping in between, like from the start of the vanishing journey all the way up until Moonbridge. Nothing drops familiars. So Moonbridge is the first area where you can get some.
At what level is Moonbridge?
It's 245.
245, and do they drop like an excessive amount of cards?
If you have enough drop rate and you're killing at a decent rate and you've got totems and you're like training, but you have drop rate on, they drop quite a lot of them, yeah. Okay. I don't remember the exact number, but no, the epics never drop in the game anymore. Only commons and rares.
So technically, if I was to, let's say I just wanted to go on my arc and go to like Skeledogs or like somewhere low leveled, technically, if I have the same drop rate, the drop rate's the same. I'm just missing out on money and EXP.
Yeah.
And like other drops. Okay.
Yep.
But the logic is still the same. That
the more monsters you kill and the more drop rate you have, the more cards you'll get. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know for sure. I think they also drop rares, but you have to make sure that the monster also drops both common and rares. I think all monsters do, but I'm not 100% on that.
Okay. Yeah, I learned the other day. I was doing some badge runs and I was trying to get a whole bunch, and I learned that I was in Minar Forest, and I was trying to get Blood Harps, and the Star Force Blood Harps didn't drop the cards, but there was only a spawn rate before that had 3 Blood Harps, and they dropped the card. Is there a Star Force thing?
Star Force monsters are like inherently different monsters, so they are coded differently as different monsters. They're not just like they don't just have a star next to their name. They're typically like completely different monsters. And I don't believe for a card you have to get that specific monster to drop their card, so they count as a different monster. And I don't believe that any of the Star Force monsters have cards.
When you do,
they do come from Monster Collection specifically. You might need specifically Star Force monsters, but for the cards, I don't think that any of them have monster cards.
When you do the LNAF badge, all of them seem to be on Star Force maps, so it was just it felt real weird that those ones will drop them, but the ones in like,
the LNAF ones.
Yeah, because when you go to LNAF, when you try to get the Banes, I think Banes are only on a Star Force map.
That could be true, yeah. Wait. Oh, these ones are Star Force, yeah. Oh, yeah, so some Star Force do have cards, but they have specifically a name, right?
Star at the side of
it. You see Junior Cerberus? Yeah, Cerberus. They have the... I don't think Banes are in this set, at least, but they might be in another one.
Okay, you might be right. I'm mind blown right now.
Oh, yeah, Banes are here in the... in this set, in the...
star next to them.
And show us that, yeah. But then, yeah, if they're Star Force monsters, they do have the little star there. So if they both exist, if Star Force and non-Star Force monsters exist, you have to get the specific one for the set.
Do you ever prioritize getting these badges? at all? Like, I don't
Honestly,
know.
I would get the first. I would get one badge, so just so you could get the second familiar route, and then I wouldn't worry about it until you can get to the higher level areas, because like the Void badge, Labyrinth badge, and Apocalypse badge are like three of the most easy badges ever to get. And if you're gonna try to squeeze out 10 before you can get to those areas, you're gonna have to spend like a lot of time just to get one more familiar out. That's probably just gonna give you 15% IED, and I think you should be able to get to your functional IED with just 2 of them, and you should be fine. And once you're like 250 or past, you can start getting the 10 badges.
What level does the third familiar slot unlock at? Or
Uh,
like how many badges?
that's a 10 badges.
Oh, you have to get all 10 to get the third one?
Yeah, you have to get 10 different ones, yeah. And there's probably about 10 that you can get before those last 3, before the Void, Labyrinth, and the Apocalypse ones. But yeah, those will have increasingly more bosses that will just, take forever, that you have to run through the bosses, get a bunch of drop rate. I just hope, pray to RNGs get lucky. But if you just get 7 or 8 of those badges, and you kind of drop the 2 hardest ones, and then you just pick up the first 2, so that by the time you're like 250, you can get the Void and the Labyrinth one, and then by 250 you can get to the 10 pretty easily. But there's like a bunch of them, like the Lion badge, Mush King badge, the Mariner badge. Like those are a little bit harder, but those are also very doable. And then it's mostly the earlier ones, like what is it, like the Mineral badge, Rebel badge, Starter badge, Snowflake badge, Oppressor badge. Like all of those are very doable.
For sure. That's pretty fair. I just saw them and I was like, okay, that's a way to get crit rate. And I haven't looked at all of them, and then I noticed now there's only 2%. I'm just trying. I guess I'm trying to get crit rate as easily or like as sufficiently as possible without putting it into as little things as possible.
Yeah. No, I get that, yeah. So, like, the Rebel badge, that gives a point of crit. That's definitely doable. And then the other one that is technically possible, but is quite a bit harder to get, is the... I'm looking for it now. It's not that one. Oh, is the Commercy badge. Like, that one is attainable, but then one is a bit harder, where 2 of the cards are only available during the pre-quest, and then if you finish the pre-quest, you have to either like do it on another character, or you have to like exit before you finish the pre-quest, so that you can repeat that and keep repeating it until you get a card from the monsters.
I think I finished the pre-quest. So.
Yeah, well, you could do it on another character. You can still transfer the cards, right? Yeah, but you want to get drop rate, so might take longer if you're doing on a character with no drop rate at all. But yeah, so this one's also doable but harder. That's the one I mentioned. So you could get 2% there. Yeah. But I mean, putting some points into hyperstats is definitely not a bad option right now. So you're looking at what do you have, 64? But then you get up to 100. So is that by using that's using amplifier, right? Yeah. So without it, you're at 94?
Yes, correct.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a problem. So
yeah.
I think just putting him into hyperstat or hyperstats would probably be beneficial. Because I would only need it's straight, so I would only need 6 points, right?
Yeah, and if you 6, well, if you get 5, then it's 5, and then the 6th point will already get you 2%, right? Past 5, it's 2% per level, so that will get you 7. So I don't think it's bad at all to sacrifice your strength and your attack power to get your IED here higher and to get your crit rate higher, and then that way you don't have to rely as much on the hyper passive for the crit rate for the IED, I mean, and then you don't have to rely on the amplification and on the adventure link for the crit rate, and that already frees up a slot there as well.
So that would that be your next one out on my links?
Oh yeah, the Arch Adventure, yeah, that's definitely the first one out, and then the second one out would probably be Keen Edge, but only if you have a worthy replacement, of course.
So with I would replace it with first off, Ilium. Is Ilium's link worth it at all?
I don't personally use it. I feel like it forces you to move too much, where sometimes you maybe don't want to. I'd rather have something that has like I'd always choose elementalism over Ilium, for example. I'd rather have like 80% plus of the efficiency all the time, regardless of what I do, than maybe have it a little bit higher sometimes, but I have to do a bunch of stuff for it.
Okay. So what I guess my next one, because I'm going for the thieves, and then after that, I'd be knocking out Keen Edge. Would it just be like Core Aura?
Yeah, don't forget the Angelic Buster one, right?
Oh yeah, that's the one I'm working on right now.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
that's
the
really
AB.
good for the arc too, huh?
Yeah, you combine that with the Hungry Beast and with your hyper skill. I keep forgetting the name. It was not Insatiable Hunger. Is that the name?
I'm really bad at names.
You know, the one that just shoots out like with the infinity spell, shoots out like a billion balls basically.
Endless Agony.
Yeah, yeah, Endless Agony. Yeah, that sounds like it. That if you can have the Angelic Buster link through those two skills, that's a huge, you know, you pop the iframe in between. There's a huge amount of damage increase there.
Okay. I know that I guess I need to hear it from you. How important is I don't have through all this the Aaron and Evan link. Is that like a really big deal at this point?
Like at all?
Yeah, I haven't touched them.
Okay. I mean, it's not a huge deal because clearly you got to where you got without them, right? It just makes everything a bit faster. And if you are aiming for something like a 4K, 5K, 6K, or maybe even, God forbid, an 8K Legion, the faster you make those, the more it'll make everything else speed up.
I guess I just didn't. I can't. In my mind, I can't correlate how much faster it makes it. So I guess I think I hate it so much that it just feels all the same to me.
Well, the extra thing is with the Evan and the Aaron Link skill is that sometimes there are Sunny Sundays where there's a extra effect or haste events where there are extra effects given and even more experience bonus to those two runes and two combo orbs, and then that stacks with the Aaron and Evan links, and that makes for a very good time to level characters.
Do you think it's beneficial? So let's say like by the next event when they give us another burn character, if I have all characters at 120, would you burn a character to 200 and then delete the character that was at 120?
So for some characters, yeah, for some characters I would do that, but I only do that if you need the slot, right? Because if you have 120 and a 200, it'll still count for your Legion if they're within 40 characters. As long you just wouldn't put the 120 in your board, but you put the 200 in instead. Once you go over 40 characters and the lowest is over 120, then you can delete the other character without any like ramifications to your total level. Otherwise, like as long as you have room to create characters, then never delete a character. Always just create another character slot. Okay. But yeah, I would definitely look into like the Aaron. So you have do you have the Mercedes and the Zero?
I do have the Mercedes, and I haven't got the Zero to the point where it gives the Legion yet.
Oh yeah, you have to get a little bit further with that one. Yeah, I would try to get at least the 120, maybe to 140 on the Aaron and the Evan. I think the Evan Link skill is very, very good. Makes your runes last way longer, and yeah, like I said, combination with the Sunny Sundays and with the special haste event sometimes makes it even better, and it makes it definitely worth.
Filler event, the haste one, because we had it before. I just curious to see.
Haste is like at least yearly, I believe. At least once a year there's a haste event. So I might be twice a year, but like at least yearly, yeah. And then during that, basically the cooldowns of runes goes down, so you can just use more of them. And then the Sunny Sunday, what it usually does is plus 100% experience during the runes. So the fact that Evan makes them last longer gives you just a longer time of bonus experience.
Dread Legion. I don't know if you can tell.
Well, you're already at 3K. I think once you start getting to 3.54, you really start feeling the snowball where every new character, as long as you kind of, set your Legion towards that character. So one of the things, I don't know if you do this, but if you make a new Legion character, one of the stats that new characters, so obviously your current setup would already help them a lot, but if you flip the boss damage over to critical rate instead for a new Legion character, it makes them very, very strong.
Is it worth going into bonus exp as well, or
No, I
no?
wouldn't do that right now. You don't have enough. You don't have enough Legion to make that efficient because you need 4 blocks in there for 1% experience, and at that point,
Okay, so if let's say I was at 6K, would you then for leveling at all? I don't know. 6K
yeah,
is that
yeah,
like
you'd fill out
140 on
critical
both?
damage, fill out as much critical rate as you need to get to 100, and then put the rest in bonus experience, something like that.
Okay.
And you would do that over filling out anything in the middle, right? In the beginning, you want to fill out your attack or magic attack, and you want to fill out your main stat. But once you have access to those outer grids, then you want to max those out as much as possible, and then only start moving into the middle if you have leftover. But again, for bonus experience, like the Mercedes is 10, 15, 20% experience, right? So that's like the equivalent of 20, 40, and 60 grid spots, basically.
Yeah. Okay, for sure. That makes sense. Yeah, the Mercedes was the one I did. I think that was the first link I ever made, and then after that, I just
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to do any more. And
Yeah.
then I started, like Kinesis and stuff like that. They were really fun. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just dependent. You talk a lot about getting classes to 100 and then doing Zachem
Mm-hmm.
to, is it 120 or 140?
Eventually 140, but like 120 is of course definitely a good threshold to be at for that level 2 link. But then eventually 140 because that's when you hit the S rank for your Legion board, and then it goes from 2 to 3 pieces. So essentially it's like 50% more map coverage or board coverage for them.
Fair enough. Does it how do you know on the top of your head how rough like how fast from 100 to 120, like how many days that takes, or is it just
Oh, I don't know. It kind of depends on if there's like event coupons, that definitely speeds things up. If there's like some way you can get like a 15-minute event coupon every day or something, then like it almost doubles the speed, right? Or if you care enough about like running around maps a little bit and just finding a rune sometimes, if you do those two things compared to not doing it at all, it could be like 3 times the amount of days, right? Um,
yeah.
so yeah, that's kind of hard to say.
Yeah, fair enough. I was just curious because we heard that and my friends were just like it feels like we should just grind it through 120, but I personally
Some
struggle really
characters,
hard.
yeah, for some characters that'd be fine, right? Like for the Kadena, you'll just do it because you enjoy it. But for other characters that you don't enjoy it, just log off and log back in the next day, kill Zakum, and log off again. Like, don't put yourself through any misery that you don't want to have to go through. And once any character gets like 105, 108, you should have no problem with Zakum whatsoever. If you do, then move your Legion around maybe a little bit. But I mean, this current setup should already help your characters enough by just destroying it instantly, basically.
For sure. I got you.
And you could, if you want to speed up a little bit more, you could use your runs for Monster Park. That's a lot of experience around that level as well, and is available over level 105. But you want to make sure that you don't cut into your 7-day Monster Park or progression on your main.
Yeah, I struggle with Monster Park as well. I think I struggle with just doing something that's really repetitive, which is Maple Story.
Mm-hmm.
But I think cutting something like Commercy, it took me a while I had to cut Monster Park to do Commercy, but now that I'm done with Commercy for a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
even though I shouldn't be, I could go and start Monster Park up.
Yeah, give yourself like a max amount of things to do that you don't like, and don't go over that. Don't push your own boundary on that. And if something has to go that's kind of important, but it's something that you hate more or that is less necessary at this time, then so be it. As long as you need an overall level of enjoyment to even keep going. You don't want to make it like a chore. You don't want to make it annoying because you're just gonna burn yourself out.
Yeah, that's what because when I took that break in the very beginning, my friends got so far ahead of me, it like made me really upset because it was boring. It was like they were already starting like CRA, and I was so far behind just being carried. I don't like being carried, so
Mm-hmm.
they took a break because they got burnt so fast during the haste event, and then I ended
Mm-hmm.
up gaining. I stayed playing for that month, so I've learned that it's a lot more of a marathon than it is a
The sprint.
sprint.
Yeah, yeah. So you ended up catching back up to them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
You but yeah, you also notice that everyone has like their own demons there. Everyone has their own things that they don't like and that they have to compete with, and you definitely find your limits in certain things. So hopefully, after learning that, you can also take that into real life, right? If you're working on a certain deadline and you can recognize that feeling that you've had before when you're burning out on Maple, you're like, oh shit, this is going in the wrong direction. And at that point, you take a step back and you're like, okay, what is going on and what is causing this? so that you can intervene before, because getting burned out in Maple, as unfun as it is, it's still quote unquote just a video game, right? If you get burned out in real life and you can't perform your job anymore, that shit is horrifying. Because you start feeling like a failed human because you can't do the thing anymore that you've been doing the whole time, and you have no idea what's going on. But so if you have that experience, you can definitely use that to make sure that you could feel it coming later, and kind of prevent some bad situations.
Yeah, for sure. It's
one thing though that's really triggering me on your Legion. Can you move that archer piece like one up and one to the right, so the straight line just goes above the middle?
But then I go into
Yeah, but now you're in intellect, magic attack, and MP.
But I get a little bit of strength, so if I flip it, I'll go into crit rate a little bit, right?
Yeah, but then you just wait. You can switch the middle blocks, right?
Yeah, so I'll switch the luck.
Switch luck and strength. Yeah. And then move the archer one up and to the right, so it's like a straight line from the mage piece into crit.
And then when it divots down from where the strength ends and crit rate starts, that's where the little divot will go instead? Or would you just
it'll go
straight through it?
It'll go into crit rate, yeah. And then that other thing that sticks out but is now strength. I don't know if that one could be moved over.
To figure out how to get it into strength and not knockback resistance. My mind was so.
Well, sometimes when you go to like a next 1,000 in your Legion range, you just have to take all the pieces out and just start again from nothing.
That's what I did. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you're like, oh, I could just move these two pieces, and then every single time you do it, it's like it just sticks out in another position where you don't want it. It's like you're not moving forward at that point.
All right, I'll fix it just for you. Whatever makes you happy.
I think you do it. Yeah, getting one extra crit rate instead of 5 MP will.
That's fair. Yeah, you're actually right. Yeah, it's actually for me.
Yep. Yeah, it's not so much for me. It's also for you, but also a little bit for me.
But
okay.
Yeah, I think that's as many questions as I could rapid fire off my head. Is there anything in this that you would touch or look at?
So the crit rate and ID are important. I think your ID is good enough with the extra things that we have and what I already see passively. Yeah, because you don't have ID familiars right now, do you?
No, I don't. My only familiars that I currently have, because I've just started touching them, are the increased meso drop rates by a small amount. I have 2 of them. So that's all I currently have.
And you know how that works with like meso drop rate, what item drop rate, stacking?
From what I understand, those ones, the ones that say increased meso drop rate by a small amount, that counts as like item drop, but specifically for meso. Right?
Yeah.
And that's 30% each or 20%.
Meso drop rate. Oh, I don't have that one included, but I assume.
I did look at that, and I assumed that it was the same as the first one.
Yeah. It's probably 30%. Yeah.
So that's 60% drop rate. So when I use Holy Symbol and I have an item 20% item drop rate, I'm over the cap for 66%.
But they don't. Right? But they don't stack.
They don't stack. What doesn't stack?
The drop rate lines.
Okay, so those two things don't stack.
If they have the same name, the same qualifier, being meso drop rate or item drop rate, it looks at which one is the highest percentage, and then that one applies. So you'll see if you have both of them summoned, you see on the top right, you should only have one buff there for your meso drop rate increase.
You're making me angry, Scardor.
I mean, if the truth makes you angry, you know.
See, I had that feeling, but I was reading it and I was like, you know what?
I just wanted to be right.
That makes so much sense. So I had 2 40%. And then, so it will stack with decent Holy Symbol if it's item. So if I'm talking about specifically item drop, Holy Symbol stacks with that. So I was still at 56% at the time, and then I had Meso drop rate. So these 2 familiars specifically don't stack with each other. So having
Yep.
two is point.
So if you don't have a total drop rate, total just item drop rate of at least like around 80%, then any kind of specific meso drop rate that you have will still help get the bags up to one monster always drops one bag territory. But as soon as you go over that amount of total item drop rate, then meso drop rate by itself doesn't do anything because you already get one bag always from one monster.
Okay, but it would you prioritize 5 meso drop items for item drop.
Careful, that's meso obtain and item drop. Those are also two different things.
1 second, I have to look at it.
So you have item drop, meso drop, and then meso obtain.
Yeah. I'm saying on items specifically. You get meso's obtained. You're looking for five things of meso obtained, right?
Yeah, because the meso obtain is how much is in the bags, and not how many bags. That comes from the item drop rate, and then meso obtain is like how much is in the bags.
So if I was to change these familiars, just so I'm sure or understanding, to increase item drop rate by a small amount, would that stack with item drop or no? Still.
Yeah. So if you have increased meso drop rate by a small amount, and you would change it for increased item drop rate by a small amount, then your total amount of meso drop would stay the same, but your item drop rate for everything else would go up by 30%.
So it wouldn't touch the amount of bags that were dropped?
No, that would stay the same. If you currently don't get 100% of bags drop, then you could use one of the meso drop ones and then use another one of the item drops, and they will both stack, and they will both show up on the top right because they affect different things.
Okay, because when I look at it in the attributes, yeah, it only shows up at the top as one buff, but in attributes it does say it twice. So I thought maybe.
Yeah, it should be crossed out in red, just like it does with the familiar badges and stuff. Where if you go like over the cap that it doesn't work, it should do something like that so that it visually is representing.
That would be nice.
Yeah, but that would also be very, very user friendly and very non-Nexon thing to do.
What?
Nani? What is this user friendly you speak of? Yeah. Unheard of.
Okay, that makes sense. That's nice to know that I was slightly wasting my time.
So any other stuff you find that says like increase item drop rate with any like amount after it, that will be an upgrade. Increase item drop rate by a large amount, of course, is like that's like the best one to get basically. That's 100% item drop rate. That's crazy, but that's only I think super rare and epic, but that's mostly going to happen in unique. So that's when you're going far further into stuff.
I can technically get IED from rares. Is that right?
From common and from rares, yeah, and it's actually a bit more common to get it from common than from rare because rare has a bit more variance, has more lines that it can possibly give you.
Okay, would you with my IED, is that worth going for, or should I just try to get crit rate when I'm bossing? Because crit rate, when it's not capped, is at 94.
You want to get the crit rate from the hyperstats, right? So we're resetting the hyperstats and initially not putting into strength or weapon attack, focusing on getting the crit rate to 100, and then crit damage, IED damage, boss damage, getting those all like evenly up, probably all to 9 and then a few to 10, something like that. And then if you have a little bit of points left, you put those into attack, and if you have a little bit of points left after that, then you put those leftovers into strength, basically.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so I guess when I'm bossing, do familiars at this point even matter to me unless I'm having epic with boss damage, or should I just ignore it for now?
What the ID will do is that once you get to Lotus and Damien and everything beyond, what it will do is that you won't have to put any ignore defense in your Legion there yet, and you don't have to rely on an ID line for your WSE, and they're basically going to make it so that your ID doesn't drop below the point where the armor of the bosses starts reducing your damage by a significant amount. And so that if you roll out of the hyperstat in favor of the Creeping Terror, that doesn't put you in the danger zone, basically.
Okay, so in this situation, I should probably just go ahead and get 2 familiars that are common or rare that say increase in IED over crit rate.
Yes, yes.
That seems like the best situation.
Yeah, if you can get something that has ID and like a few percent of crit, that would be like super duper, right? The best that you can get right now. But you know, the variance is so wide. Like just 15% ID, if you get that on 2, like that's great for now, and then just move on. If you can get if you get anything that has a little bit of party healing, that could be nice for some bosses, specifically Lucid and up, where there's just a lot of sources of damage, all the small butterflies shooting the boss through the map and stuff. If you and your party members all have one of those, that could help a bit as well. And then
it will say party healing.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different ones, and you could check the list, but I think there's like a continuously restores HP to party members, something like that.
Okay.
There's a bunch of different ways that it's mentioned. I don't know the exact wording, but
Okay.
yeah.
And those ones are just beneficial for, like, let's say all three. Since it's 3 of us, all 3 of us would get one, and that would be beneficial for the whole group.
Yeah, they tend to cluster together though on their timing, because I think it depends on when you enter the map. But yeah, it will help you because you know you can't endlessly heal on bosses. Most of them have some kind of potion cooldown, and it'll help you keep up your HP and while you're waiting for the HP the potion cooldown to come back basically.
Okay, I got you.
If anything, get one with a little bit of healing for yourself, so you're at least looking out for number 1.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty nice. I other than not understanding why we have mana, the arc has pretty good sustainability.
Why do we have
pretty nice?
We have mana so that conversion overdrive could do something, okay?
I guess that is actually another question. Is my I think I messed up, not messed up, but my V matrix is kind of I took the path of deleting almost every every single node stone that didn't benefit me, and
oof, I see that.
buying,
yeah.
and buying into maxing out my main trio. And now I think I started my second trio, but I'm confused on my third trio because I'm in an ARC Discord, and I think this is part of the learning experience, is where they basically talked about like the Creeping Terror and the what's the other one isn't beneficial.
Yes.
And now that I look at it, Creeping Terror is pretty beneficial because
it's pretty fucking huge.
Like,
yeah. And it got 3 skills, right? It's Blissful Restraint and Creeping Terror and Endless Agony all in one. Yeah.
And so that one, I think the reason why I deleted it as well is because I didn't think that any of my abilities were worth getting rid of to put them in at this specific time.
No, that makes sense. So basically what you're looking for right now is 2 lines of that and then 1 line of Scarlet Drive just to round out another node, and then you just add 1 more node. You don't look for 3 skills and 2 more sets, but you just put 1 Scarlet and 2 of those. So, and then since you can't have 2 in the same, 1 of your other skill nodes is going to have to be remade as well. And then whichever skill on those you replace with the Creeping Terror, that skill will have to be on your 5th node, and you end up with 5 boost nodes. And just so everything is boosted twice, except for Scarlet Drive, just only once. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. No, you were very quiet, so just double checking.
It was a lot to take in at the moment because I think.
Well, I mean, if it doesn't make sense, just let me know and I'll explain it more slowly.
So, for instance,
yeah,
I couldn't. I sent you a picture. I can't use this node stone because the beginning of my other node stone starts with Ominous Nightmares as well, right? So my first 25 looks like this. Could I use that node stone? I know the chat can't see anything that I'm talking about. I'm sorry, but I have a 25 boost node right here. For my main trio, am I able to use that the first node stone, or no, because it starts the same as Ominous Nightmare?
So let's see. So this is okay. The second picture, that's the one you already have, right? That's the one in top right.
Yes, that's my first main trio that I've maxed out.
Yeah, or well, not the one in top right. Sorry, the one on the right side on the second row, I think technically, right?
Oh yeah, sorry, the second row, correct.
Yeah, because it's like the skill is on top, but the picture is on the left for for consistency's sake. And then the other one, so you couldn't use both of those, but what you can do is you can unequip your current level 25 and then click this new one that you have and click enhance this one and then take your 25 and throw it into the level 1 and instantly have a level 25, and it'll just redo the skills. So that's what you want to do on on at least one of your nodes, where it fixes and adds the other lines. So
if I was to feed that node stone into the level 1 node stone that I have, it would instantly go up to 25?
Yeah, if you feed like this, it keeps all of the experience. It loses experience if you disassemble, and then you get shards back, and then the shards never make up for how many nodes you've thrown in. So you want to avoid that. But if you feed it in directly, it keeps 100%. In the past, it didn't do that either in the beginning, but now it does. They changed that over the years. So basically, you keep all the nodes that you open from now on, and you just look at the new combinations. And once you have the new combinations, just unequip your currents, feed them in, and then you'll just have 5 nodes, and then you can start leveling those up, and then you can start extracting everything again that doesn't start with those first 5 skills.
But in alternatively, could I do like this node stone and just level that to 25, and it just gives me extra on a node stone that it doesn't do any benefit?
So I would wait until you find your combination of 5 and then commit to that.
Okay, so you specifically want to not overstack. So like
not necessarily. You don't want to overcommit, because then you limit your options, and then it'll take longer. So let's say that you were to take this one and you do level it up. What this means is that now you have 3 unstoppable impulses, which isn't the end of the world, but that does mean that your only 2 other options are going to be that the one already starts with unstoppable impulse, so that's one's already completely off the table. So it means that the one that starts with gust drive, that one has to have gust drive as main. So you're looking for a gust drive main with abyssal charge and then creeping terror. So you're looking for that specific node. So you're really limiting there's only 2 options, right? And that's either abyssal as second and creeping terror as third, or the inverse. So there's only 2 possible nodes of all the nodes that you're looking for at that point.
Couldn't I, if I was lucky and just looked through my notes, could I have found one that starts with creeping terror instead, and then I would have both of them? Or is that still not?
So if you, regardless of which 5th one you add, one of the other ones has to change, because you can't have creeping terror twice on the same boost node, right? So something else has to get creeping terror in there, and whichever one you replace has to go on. If you find a starting creeping terror node with Scarlet Drive, that skill has to be the 3rd one on the creeping terror one. So the safest way forward is to just keep all the nodes you find, specifically the ones that have creeping terror, and Scarlet Charge Drive, and the ones that start with any of the skills you already have. So you don't need to look for any that start with like Abyssal, for example, or that start with Endless. Basically only Abyssal, right? Because it's not any of the prime lines on any, but it is already in 2 boost nodes. So that's not something. That's the one you want to find as a prime node here. Because if you do find that one and it works out perfectly, that's going to feel even worse, because then you have to disassemble another one to move everything over. You don't want to have to do that at this level.
Okay, I think I understand.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of options. I can't list them all because it's like hundreds of options right now, but that's good. And then the sooner you lock in, the more you limit those options, and then it becomes very hard to find that one specific one, and you might end up having to over-make boost nodes and stuff, and then you have to disassemble those again, and that's like a bad time. So yeah, so just open for a while and then find the new combinations.
Okay, so those 2 specifically wouldn't work. We're going to find the one that starts with
what's that last one here? So that's a creeping terror with Scarlet and Gust. That could work.
So both of these could in theory work, right? But I would be overdoing on a specific node.
Yeah, so if you get that second to last one, that means that you're looking for a Gust Charge with creeping terror and Abyssal, and if you end up, so that's possible, right? So if you find that other one, that means you go with the second to last one. And what you want with the last one, what you're looking for is you want to replace, it has Gust. So that one you want to replace the lines on this one, on the very last one, the level 16 one. So then you're looking for Unstoppable Impulse and Creeping Terror and Abyssal on that one.
Okay, I understand.
To round up. Yeah. So the more of these you save, the more options you have that you find the connection, and then boom, you can commit and go forward.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
The one that I see people use that I don't know what it is, the Wills one, where does that one exist? I don't see it.
The Wills one?
It's like the one that's the big spider web. I don't know what exactly.
Oh, right. True Arachnid Reflection. Yeah. So once you kill Will in the storyline at 235, you will get that skill node, and then you can just equip it. And then the only way to level it up is with either experience nodes or with other True Arachnid Reflection nodes that only drop from hard will after that.
Is it worth to use at level 1, or you just sort of keep it?
It's worth to use at level 1 if you have the room for it. It's decently high priority because it's a big full map AoE clear with I think a 40 or 45 second summon or something. It doesn't attack constantly, but it does like a crazy amount of lines and just one shots as soon as you can use it basically. And then for your bossing DPS, it's worth throwing in, except if you're fighting Will, because you cannot activate it during the Will fight. So there you would replace it with something else.
Oh, you can't use it during the Will fight?
No, it does. You can't kill the spider with the spiders. He's immune to spider bites.
Okay. Was I wrong early on going with loaded dice? Because I thought
No, that's a great skill.
Okay, good. I didn't know if I was
Yeah.
missing, because I know like overdrive. I hear overdrive a lot. I don't know if it's the next best or anything like that.
Overdrive is good. Overdrive is good. So it scales off of your base attack of your weapon, and basically until you have Abzo, it's not even worth really mentioning. So once you have Abzo, it does come into play, but you do want to get it pretty high level before, because the percentage goes up as you level it. So you do want to get it pretty high level before it starts being, I think, worth the spot. The other one that's also pretty good is advanced combat orders. Oh, sorry, decent combat orders. Because we have a bunch of stuff in our 4th job that all gets boosted. Basically, every single skill gets boosted, I think, except for maybe one. But it includes a little bit of final damage, a little bit of crit rate, boss damage, IED, like a little bit of everything. And again, like I like that just has, passively makes you stronger across the board rather than have one skill. And we already have quite a lot of buttons to press during our burst. So that is another option that you can roll into. I know for endgame, some people even roll out of overdrive because they already have so many buttons to press that they tend to discount overdrive because of the penalty it has at the end. So they focus on other stuff instead. But that's more like endgame min-maxing thing and personal preference.
Decent combat orders is like the next one that you would go for?
It would kind of depend. For mobbing, probably not the very next one. For mobbing, I'd probably see if I can smuggle conversion overdrive in there, because of the extra added effect across the map and for extra clearing. And then for bossing, probably overdrive. Probably, and then decent combat orders probably right after that. But you have the Goddess Blessing as well, which gets really, really strong, and it doesn't have the same drawback that overdrive does. So the Goddess Blessing is probably high priority than overdrive. Now that I think about it.
Goddess Blessing over decent combat orders.
Yes. So the order for bossing would probably be Goddess Blessing, then overdrive, then decent combat orders, and then for mobbing would be either first combat orders or conversion overdrive. They're probably roughly similar, and then the other one.
Do you switch your nodes out a lot when you go from bossing to mobbing?
For me now, no, because I'm 265, so because I have so many slots. And in the beginning, I didn't have to, because when I started, there was only 1 or 2 5th jobs, and then we just gained 1 slot as we went, gained a skill as we went, and then as we got those, we also got an extra slot for that. The main things, I think I didn't rely on decent sharp eyes as early, because I ended up getting more crit rate from my link skills instead, so that I had an extra slot to put in more skill nodes there, so I could have Holy Symbol on, maybe even character building for extra experience if I was doing longer training sessions. But yeah, loaded dice is really good. I think I went without, is it Devious Nightmare? I think I went without that one for a little bit, because the after image was nice and everything, but since it only...
Devious Nightmare is kind of whatever. I've only just put stuff in. I've only put any of my stuff in there when I get it, instead of making them, and I focused on trying to get my trio.
Exactly, yeah.
Would you focus on any of the, like, Infinity Spell or anything like that?
Infinity Spell is the highest priority for your skills, yeah, because it it gains duration and it gains effect all the way up to level 30. Like if it's 25 in a level 5 slot, it creates an extra what's the name? Impending death on every attack during a Spectre as well. So it keeps
specifically at level 25.
Yeah, specifically at 30. So not at 25, but at 30, it goes up to I think 6 extra or something. Yeah, so it does, and because of the long uptime, it is a huge bossing buff. And also, of course, for mobbing, you can use it to stay in Spectre for very long and get in Flora for very long, and then get added kill potential in Flora because of all the extra basic charge drive spell bullets that fly around, and that can keep your kill speed in Flora somewhat even. On the same level as Spectra, so you don't have to like completely rotate the maps differently or do different things to be able to get decent kill speeds again.
Gotcha. Other than that, you would just so you would would you prioritize getting Infinity Spell higher versus adding another buff, or is it sort of whatever you feel is necessary at the time? Because all of them, everything that I'm doing right now is just sort of preparing me to try Lucid. But I don't know. I guess seeing which one's better, adding another buff or increasing what I already have. I don't know what rate would be better than the other.
You're talking specifically like to craft nodes, or?
Yeah. So I guess would you ever craft nodes? Would you ever disassemble the ones that you don't use? So like I know you would disassemble ones that expire.
But yeah, I would disassemble the weird skill nodes like the decent Mystic Door and probably
like
the rope lifts and. Yeah, Blink. Yeah, those guys just go right out the window for sure. All the other ones you just keep. But yeah, all the ones we talked about, like Conversion Overdrive, Goddess Blessing, and then even Decent Combat Orders, like all of those you just keep and just level them on themselves as you get them. But if you get like experience nodes or something, or you have a whole lot of shards lying around, your boost nodes are like getting close to up there. Maybe get that 5th boost node, a little bit of a boost to catch up with the other ones. But they'll like slowly level up over time. As long as you get like close to 40 or over 40 total levels, then you're fine. You get an extra Abyssal Aura at 26. Oh, at 26. Okay.
Oh, so 26 is at least what I would want it. I mean, 30 is what I would want it at, but 26.
Yeah, I eventually want it at 30 because it's good ass fucking skill.
Yeah,
some good shit. Yeah, you want it to last as long as possible. But then after that, if you have like experience nodes before you have the I probably put the experience nodes into Affinity Spell, even if you had the True Ragnar Reflection, because the thing is already really good at level 1, and compared to how much damage you gain by leveling that one up versus your Infinity Spell is still more important.
Yeah.
That and Internally Hungry Beast also increases quite a lot in damage by leveling it.
So those experience nodes that are in the shop coming up for the event, are those worth getting like heavily?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
What
if
is
you have
an
enough
experience node? I don't even know what it is.
I think it gives you this node? Yeah, it gives you just a chunk of experience, and you can use it as a boost node as a node that you use to level any other node. So you can use it for both a boost node, for a skill node, for any one that you want.
Okay. Does it have a specific amount of XP that it gives, or is it just...
Yeah, I think it's 300.
Okay.
So it's like the equivalent of 5 nodes, I believe.
Okay. That's pretty good.
It's worth 7 nodes? Oh, something like that. Oh, my bad.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah. It is expensive as well, though. So make sure that you look at all your options, all your priorities, and then determine which one you want to use it on.
I didn't know the event caps you out at 9999. So
oh, that's only visual. It goes over.
Is it visual?
Yeah, if you hover over it, it should show the exact number.
I didn't know that because I spent like $3,000 because I was like, okay, so I guess I can't go over. That's nice to know because...
Yeah, for some reason they capped it at 4 numbers. I think otherwise the numbers would get too small, or I don't know. But if you hover over it, it shows your effective amount. So it does go over 10K.
Oh, okay, that's nice to know. My friends would like to know that.
Yeah. You're going to be the beacon of enlightenment now. You're going to have all the knowledge.
It's so funny because I watch your stream pretty regularly. They don't watch streams too much, but they're very heavily into the game. And I always come back after watching one of your like progression sessions with some absurd knowledge. Like the most absurd one was oh yeah, we need to get the 3 assassins. And they were like, no, we don't do any debuffs. I'm like, no, listen. We need to get the 3 Scardor has told me this, so I need to get it. And then we look into it, and he was angry when you said that elementalism eventually knocks off. He's like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would it knock off? And then I said, well, then you go into talking about it, and you learn that we need the Kadinas because the Kadinas technically is 12% instead of 10.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's so.
But how could the elementalism go? It's 10%. Yeah.
Because you just like, we don't add the fact that it says, because we thought, okay,
it says
only
3
lower levels. I didn't even know that you could be higher level than the boss you face. I just guess I just assumed they didn't have a level.
They're like level 400, aren't they? Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's what you end up thinking, but no, you are higher level than them.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
There's always something in the game that we just don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So for the most part, I think I have the rest of it down. Especially, at least items. I get really lucky with items.
Mm-hmm. With your upgrading?
Other than getting 2 crit line gloves, I've done pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Flames are okay as well. I see myself getting to a certain flame a lot and not wanting to touch it. I'm just too scared. Like when I get a 79 flame, like on those gloves.
Yeah.
I think I'm just scared to touch it because the damage decrease. I don't like damage decrease.
You need more and more flames every time to keep up with what you already have. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if there's any. I thought that the one who has godly control, the medal that I have, would be better than the one from Monster Park, but I guess that 10% IED.
Yeah, it'll show you an attack decrease, but that attack decrease, if you compare that to what your actual range is at, it's a very small part of it. But getting 10% IED at the expense of 1 all stat and 1 weapon attack is like, that's the best trade you can make, because IED everywhere else where you get it, it goes at the expense of way more, right? Like if you get it on a familiar, well, that familiar technically, theoretically, could be a 30% boss familiar, right? So you're like, that's a huge premium to get the IED there. But if you can get it on a medal, the only thing it goes at the expense of, I think the very best medal in the game, that is somewhat accessible, maybe has like 12 all and maybe 9 attack or something. But even then, that's like, doesn't even, the 10% IED end game will always help you out way more.
For sure. Is Sweetwater, so the Sweetwater tattoo, is there a specific flame that you aim for? Because you can't transpose it. So
nope.
Is it just do you care about the flame at all on the Sweetwater, or do you just?
It's kind of like the same level as the Superior stuff. It gets a little bit higher because it's 160 versus 150, but it's a very, very small difference. So anything like low to mid 30s is like, yeah, or higher. I think I got something like 50 on my arc or something. That's like, okay, that's a no-brainer. Keep forever. Don't look back kind of thing.
Is the difference? I'm real scared to upgrade to Star Force my Carnage treasure because I heard you can't get it back.
Yeah, that's a one-time thing. Yeah.
If I was to boom my Carnage treasure by the grace of God, what would you go from there? Because I know they say superior reinforced Meister's ring Carnage treasure. What would be the point then to get your 4th ring? Would it just be worth getting an event ring, or is it like
you still have, so Meister, Superior, Reinforced, and then Solid. Solid would just pick up the spot.
Okay.
Because it technically it can only go up to 20, but like a 20 Solid is probably already better than what like 85 to 90% of the population has. So it's not like it's a consolation prize to some people, but it's like it's a really good ring.
Okay, fair enough.
Because most people will only get the Kana treasure to 19 or 20. Maybe gamble it to 21 and then boom it there, and then the 20 solid is barely a downgrade from that.
Okay.
But you can get the kind of treasure to 19 without risking the boom by getting a solid to 20 and then transfer hammering it over, because the solid is repurchasable in the shop, so that's a lower risk way of getting at least a 19 on the kind of treasure.
Yeah, just transferring it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. I was just gonna 15 star it with the scroll that we get today that we can buy from the shop, and just leave it there. And then 17 star my superior, because the superior ring will technically be like best in slot, right?
Yeah, it can again. Yes, definitely because of the set bonus with the superior Golic set, right? But its amount of of stars is also very important. So ideally, you get like a high star Meister and then transfer hammer it into that, so that you can, without risk, get a high superior, because it's too expensive to replace, right? The 700 coins from the shop is just really, really what's the word where it's like not preventative, but it's like prohibitive. That's the word. 700 is a little too yikes.
Yeah, it's expensive. I haven't even looked at smithing, crafting, or anything like that yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need a lot of Grand Spell Essences and Meister, sorry, not Meister, Primal Essences before you start thinking about making Primals, making Meister rings, sorry.
Touched it at all. Should I just be mining when I see the rocks? Like, as soon as I see the rocks, just go over and...
Yeah, big rocks, big flowers always harvest. They all have a chance for Primals, and then the big rocks have a chance for, like, Confusion Fragments, which... That's mainly NPCing, but they also have a chance for cubes, so that can be nice. And then the big flowers have chances for Philosopher's Stones as well, which aren't as rare, but it's a little bit of extra. But they also have a chance for the seeds, the purple seeds, right? That you need to make the wealth potions and the experience accumulation potions.
Yeah, I haven't even looked at that either.
If you're doing longer sessions with totems, it's worth looking into that. 'Cause if you're an alchemist, you can make you can use 2 potions at once, and then one of them is so the wealth potion gives you 20% drop rate and 20% mezzo obtained. That stacks with all the other stuff, so that's very nice and lasts for 2 hours. And then the experience one, I think it's 10% experience, but it also stacks with everything. So that combined with all the other sources, all the little bits coming together really helps out for longer sessions.
I find myself like low on maple points to get totems. Is it ever okay to farm without a totem? Like level and farm, or is it like totem is just... Sure,
it's up to you. You probably want to disproportionately look for larger maps, right? Where the more moving around towards the monsters is more a thing that you do, rather than stay, in a small circle around a map and just, roll your face on your keyboard. You're going to have to go a little bit more where the monsters are and go find them. And because they're bigger maps, then wherever you go, the monsters will have already respawned, so there's more monsters to kill there, but there's more moving. Arc has a little bit more flexibility there because we have, the unstoppable impulse and stuff, and skills that move us while we deal damage, so we have a little bit of an edge there, that you have more maps that are closer in efficiency to our optimal maps, where some other characters, if they have to move to a different map, then suddenly they just get like a third of the rates or something, and it's absolutely horrendous, but Arc has a little bit more flexibility there. If you're short on totems, as in, are you short because you can't buy them all out, or are you short because you just use so many that you don't have?
Yeah, I've used so many that I don't. I do my daily bosses,
and
then I do what is that one thing called, the monster collection, but I always end up like having to wait like a couple days or so until I can buy another one. So sometimes I'll be short. I don't know.
But you buy them all out before the end of the month? Are you okay with that?
Yes, I well,
it's close.
Yeah. It's pretty dependent. Is it really worth like getting a Kana farmer, or not Kana farmer, but a Kana just a Kishin on the side?
It was worth it way more before. Right now, I think the main value, if you can do it, is so that you can also do daily bosses there and just have totems there and then totem yourself rather than using Kishin, because at least the totems have 100% uptime. The other thing you could do is look into Maple M and just run that on the side. That can give you up to 500 reward points a day with very minimal requirement.
Maple Story Mobile?
Yeah. You can connect you can link your accounts, and then there's like a few dailies you can do that give you up to 500 reward points in Maple.
So the account for Maple Story Mobile is linked, but the characters aren't there, right?
Yeah, it just links, and then based on the progress and the dailies you do, you achieve those dailies, and then you activate them in Maple M, and then since you have the accounts linked, they will like show up in a reward box in Maple Story, and then you can pick them up and get 500 extra RP.
Is there anything else that Maple Story M gives? Just because I've never.
KMS did a thing right now for Neo where they linked with extra rewards. So we're not 100% sure if that's going to come when we get Neo. But there was like a pet and some symbol selector coupons and some more stuff there. But a lot of Maple M is just really, really automated and just plays itself. So it takes very minimal input from you, and you can also just roll it in an emulator on your PC on the side, so you don't even have to like use your phone specifically for it. You can, of course, if you want to.
None of that breaks the terms of service or anything, right?
No.
I know you wouldn't promote that.
No, exactly. Yeah. And then get a VMware. Just get 6 more computers. Skishing yourself. Get yourself a Beast Tamer. Get all the best.
So So I heard that there's a thing that Beast Tamer is technically better to have now than a Kana when it comes to farming. Is that true? What is that?
Yeah. That basically has to do with if the Kana is just. It has to do with like there's a psychological aspect to it as well. Do you want to have just better kill speed, more experience for all the kills, or do you want to get more monsters on the map half the time? Because that feels weird. Because every time you're like, oh yes, more oh, they're gone. Oh god, where are all the monsters? But if that's the standard respawn, then you can kind of get used to that. But if you're constantly getting like mentally yo-yoed between like good, bad, like that does things to you. That just having a better, slightly higher baseline. Maybe if it's on average not as good or almost, or it's difficult to compare. Even then, people be like, yeah, I'll just take the, that's kind of like the decent combat orders option versus having the overdrive option, basically.
I got you. So is Bishop ever an answer or no?
Bishop is if someone wants to like HS for you and hang like in the middle of the map, and they always stay within range, then that's pretty good. But people will look for a Beast Tamer over it because it's a passive buff. Beast Tamer can just stand anywhere; it doesn't have to rebuff. It's a little bit less of an increase in experience, but it also gives you critical rate and a bunch of other buffs that all stack up together quite nicely.
Okay. So Totem is technically better than Kishin.
Yeah, it comes again with the territory of like how many of them do you use and how much coverage do you need. Some people go 3 PC and get like 2 Kanas and then just alternate between those two, and then that becomes better again because you have 100% uptime and all you have to do is press 1 button on each. You don't have to worry about Night Ghost Guide, you don't have to worry about positioning, any like that. But at that point you're looking at 3 computers to hork around, and that's it gets kind of silly at some point, especially if you're going to a higher level. Like level 250 areas, and you gotta get like 2 Kana accounts 250 on the side to Kishin yourself, and then new areas coming out at level 270. It gets a little bit tricky, but
That sounds a little bit insane.
Yeah, just
maybe one day.
Yeah, we got some people with 275 Kana like Kishin mules on the side so that they can keep Kishining themselves in the higher level areas and stuff. Some people are ready for that level 300 already.
Do people sell that service? Not saying that you should. I'm just saying, is that a thing? Because I didn't think that botting was a service or botting was a thing that people did until I got to Arcana. I'm like, yeah, these people.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. Yeah. I think what some people do is this. I think from what I've heard, this apparently happens in almost all of the big guilds because nobody ends up really caring all that much. And once you're like really strong, you care more about the rates and than really about like the super deep. Intellectual integrity of your gameplay and everything, is that some people have like very high level Kanas that people just like they exist on an account that's just on a computer somewhere that someone owns, but they're basically just they share like like a team viewer thing, and they have like a schedule on who gets to use it when, and they just use it to Kishin everyone kind of thing. Yeah, which that's technically account sharing, but as long as everyone's like okay with it and no one ends up getting screwed over, I don't think it's like borderline immoral or anything, but it's it's one way to
the hush a little bit.
Yeah, but apparently it's very common in like the bigger named guilds. I'm pretty sure that everyone who has like a pretty sizable guild and has a lot of high level people probably have something like this going on.
That's fair. Any easy ways to get maple points, or would it be
maple points or the reward points?
The maple points.
Yeah.
I know when you get maple points, you can buy them, correct? They're account bound, so if you technically go to a normal server, you can buy them and put them on your Reboot server.
Exactly, yeah.
Is there any way that isn't kind of pay to win, or is that just event-wise, like if they give them out or not?
Yeah, it's events, and it's you can also sell mesos for maple points in the meso market in non-Reboot. But then you have to get mesos first. So one thing you can do is like, let's say that you do Maple M and you get so many reward points that you're kind of over. What you can do is you can buy the reward point cubes in non-reboot and either sell cube servers there for Mezzo or cube items, sell those in the Mezzo market, and then with the in the auction house, and then with those Mezzos buy Maple points from the Mezzo market basically, and then spend those again on reboot.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's like a
So
thing
it's
you
still
could.
technically free, yeah.
Yeah, so you're trading your access reboot reward points for reboot Maple points basically, but through non-reboot.
Okay.
Kind of like laundering it, laundering it through a non-reboot, basically.
Maple Story's way of saying, hey, it's a free server, no pay to win, but
no pay to win,
you
but
really wanted to go through it all.
Oh, you can, yeah, exactly. You could get some stuff done for sure. Yeah.
That's funny. All right, I think that's basically all the questions I had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your gear's like well on the way.
I felt good watching some of it, not to bash on anybody that you've done a reboot session with, but I felt like for being 232 that I was pretty lucky on most of my gear and pretty far ahead compared to some of it. I know all my flaws with Link's Legion characters and stuff like that, but I feel like I'm pretty decently ahead of where I need to be.
Yeah. Everyone has different areas that need to work on for sure, and some people, especially if you start playing, and this you will see this disproportionately, people who start playing during a Terra burn, these people will just get insane levels, and then everything else will be comparatively will be behind because you throw everything at leveling that you just don't have the time to get all the other stuff evenly to work its way up. But if you're playing over a longer period of time and you have some events, and then it all kind of evens out near the end, and all of it comes a little bit better together, and it seems more balanced in your account. Yeah.
So yeah, it felt pretty good. Because there's a lot of problems that I have with my account still, because everybody has somewhere where they need to upgrade.
For sure, yeah.
Has their battle, but so far, if the game still feels pretty good. I did at one point. When the Adele first came out, my friend mained an Adele, and when it came out, I was like, "This class is absolutely insane."
Yeah.
And I changed to a Blaster because I heard that Blaster had the highest DPS rate, and I got it to 210, and I learned that there was no way that I was going to be as coordinated enough in any boss fight to control this boss.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on for sure.
Yeah. It's still a fun class. I really do enjoy the Blaster, but. I've watched some Lucid fights, and there's no way that I'm gonna be beneficial to get there.
Yeah, it's very, when it comes to DPS and DPM classes, the way that people make those is very the methodology a lot of times leaves some room to be desired, which means that whatever comes out of those, it's cool to look at, but when it comes to it being like tangible, real life, in-game active advice that you can really build something on, typically doesn't really get to that point.
Yeah, I didn't know how they rated DPM charts. I didn't even know how they did it. They just go and buy one of those little totems that you can hit, right? And
most of them, yeah. There are some people who put in more work and do some really crazy, like, basically there's like simulating there's one guy apparently who's just simulated the whole MapleStory engine and actually just has a computer do all of the possible attack rotations and stuff, and then figures out like the most optimal ones that are doable by people with like margins of error. And there's some people are doing some crazy shit, but most of the charts, it's just like, yeah, okay, we'll take this amount of funding, we take a dummy, we take these two types of attacking if it's, significantly different, and then this is how much percentage total damage we do. Baseline is, either like a bishop or something, and then this is how much percent damage you can do based on the bishop. But that's like that's like the crudest way that you can do it, with still putting in a decent amount of work, but getting like a ranking based on that is like that does mean something. But what it means is, if you have a boss that just sits there, does absolutely nothing for like minutes at a time, then this is, how everyone's damage compares, which that's cool to look at, but that's not an in-game realistic scenario that you can really be like, oh, so that means I got to main a jet now. It's like, well, and maybe in this one situation, it could be very good. Maybe you have like a bunch of summons, right, that always 100% confirm all their lines, and then just how for some classes it might be better. For some classes it might be roughly exactly where you're at if you have the actual boss fight, and for some characters it might be way worse. And if those flip over, maybe the ranking is completely different. So it's just don't put too much confidence in that, I guess.
For sure.
Which you found out with the blaster.
When are you gonna get to 275 and do a black mage run for it?
275 is a lot of work. I'm not sure.
It's only 10 levels.
Yeah, probably not. Honestly, probably not this year. Probably next year.
Fair enough.
It's probably going to take me at least a year. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I think I've got most of the information I needed.
Okay. If there's anything that still pops up, you can always ask me in the chat or in Discord, and
sure.
I'll get back to you.
You did give me some good information, specifically about the Maple Story M.
Yep.
So I'll give you.
Oh yeah. Oh jeez, he's
give you your tip.
Holy shit.
I did say I'd give you a tip. So.
Just giant tip.
That was a good one. I knew nothing about Maple Story M. I didn't know that the counts were linked, so that was probably the biggest.
Oh yeah, ! Reward points has like a video on how to set it up and what quests you need to do and how to link it and everything more in detail.
Okay, I got you. Understandable.
That's the.
All right. Well, yep.
All right. Well, Jesus, thank you so much for all the gifted subs. Goddamn.
What you're doing, it really does help a lot watching all these videos, and then you just throw this little bit of knowledge that is actually massive. It helps a lot.
I think that's what these sessions are good, and that's why people listen to them, because with every one session there's like one or two things that people may have heard about, but then it finally clicks on why it's a thing, or they'd never heard about it and then they try it and it actually it doesn't become like, oh, now my damage is doubled, but like a huge quality of life improvement, for example, on how you like walking to, I don't know, like how you walk to Commercy or something, and then like every day you get there faster, and it's like, wow, I can't believe I didn't know that one thing, or yeah, the
one thing with the password, oh my goodness, it's only 2 seconds, but typing in A and then shifting the rest of it,
it's like yeah, it's so much faster, right? Yeah.
It's fantastic. That's the best advice I've found. That's
yes.
Actually
Sometimes it's the little things that impact impact your day-to-day a lot more.
Yeah, man. Yeah, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great work.
I will. Well, thanks to you, I can keep doing it just a little bit longer again. So.
Yeah, I'll tip you again, and then we'll do another one of these, and then I'll tip you again, and then it'll just keep going. So
all right, just
we'll make business.
All right. Well, I look forward to getting the tip again.
Yeah, man. I'll give you the tip as many times as you want.
All right. Hell yeah.
All right, man. I'll see you.
All right. I'll see you, man. Thanks. Bye. Wow, what a nice guy. He gifted 10 subs on top of the session, Dono. And I think my game closed. Yeah, my game closed. No flag race for me. Okay, beautiful. Well, at least I can AFK on my Kana. Rip 50 to 100, well, 40 to 100 points. But whatever. I mean, it's whatever, I guess. Wait, we have the skill points in, right? I did that this week. 10 subs, but game closed. That's still a pog, dude. I'll close my. You know how many times I would close my game if every time I closed my game I got 10 subs? I'd never be playing MapleStory again, dude. Infinite subs. Let's go. But yeah, if you guys like that session, I hope there was a few nuggets of wisdom in there that helped you with a quandary that you had. We didn't go over the equips as much, but yeah, as he said, most of his equips are pretty much where you want them, or already a little bit further than that. He does have the ID line on the weapon, which we didn't cover, but like we talked about, like he will keep this for a long time because it also has 2 lines of attack. So, and it's going to take pressure off of his emblem and his secondary ever needing IED, so he can go full attack or attacker and boss on the Princess No Path. And then basically once the Legion gets huge and you can start filling in the Legion block for IED, that 40% there is just going to replace this 40% here, and then you can go full attack on the weapon as well. But this is like super late stuff, but just to add that one in there for Vukedog, since we didn't go specifically over the weapon. But yeah, the flame and the potential, you've got the soul with 3% attack, so that's all very solid. But yeah, check the description if you would also like one of these sessions, and hit me up, and you could be the next person here chatting with me. All right, see you guys.